Throwaway because my main account has too much tied to my real life. And honestly, I just need to get this off my chest. I, 35M, feel like my entire reality has been spun on its head in the past couple months. I've been married to my wife, 32F, for 5 years, and for a long time, I really thought I hit the jackpot. She's originally from Eastern Europe, came here about 7 years ago, and we met through mutual friends. At first, everything was great, like, weirdly great. She was charming, driven, and had this obsession with self-improvement. Always watching YouTube tutorials, reading articles, and taking notes in journals she left lying around. One of her biggest goals was to train her mouth to speak English perfectly, as she used to put it. She said it made her feel small when she couldn't articulate herself around Americans. And I supported her. I loved that she cared that much. We did speaking exercises together. I helped her with idioms, watched Friends on repeat, even though I hated the show. It became kind of our thing. We'd laugh at Joey's stupidity and then pause and repeat entire scenes so she could train her tongue, as she liked to say. But about 6 months ago, she started getting more intense with it. She downloaded some app called Speak Fluent or something, started attending local English meetups without me, and insisted she needed to do immersion nights, which basically meant going to a nearby Airbnb she claimed was hosting language exchange groups. I asked if I could come once. She told me I'd ruin the learning environment because it had to be native speakers and non-native learners only. Something about authentic linguistic balance. I don't know. It sounded legit, I guess. But then, things got weird. She started correcting my English. She began talking in this overly polished, robotic way, like someone trying way too hard to sound American. And she got really defensive any time I asked simple questions, like when she'd be out until 1 a.m. practicing pronunciation. At one point, she told me, "You don't understand what it's like to feel inferior in every conversation. This is something I need to do alone." And I, like an idiot, respected that. Gave her space. I thought maybe this was about her mental health, her identity, and I didn't want to stifle that. Little did I know, she wasn't just training her mouth for English. She was training it for something else entirely. So, like I said, things started to feel off. She started guarding her phone like it was the nuclear codes. The same woman who used to hand me her phone to order Uber Eats now started panicking if I so much as glanced in its direction. I once saw a WhatsApp notification pop up that just said, "Tonight was fire, fire, fire." The sender's name was saved as Debate Group, James. I laughed it off at first. I mean, yeah, weirdly flirtatious for a debate group, but I wasn't going to jump to conclusions based on a couple of emojis. I told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself that James was probably just some overly enthusiastic language nerd. Still, the feeling wouldn't go away. You know that gut-tightening, blood pressure spiking sense that something isn't right? That's what I was living with, day in and day out. But I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband who doesn't trust his wife trying to better herself. Until one Friday night, I came home early from work. She wasn't expecting me. I told her I had a late meeting. But my boss let us go early after some client canceled, so I figured, cool, I'll grab pizza, surprise her, maybe we'll watch a movie like we used to. Only she wasn't home. I called, no answer. Texted, nothing. 2 hours passed. Then she texted back. "Sorry, babe, deep in pronunciation drills. Can't talk now. Home by midnight, kiss marked." Here's the thing. That same afternoon, I checked our shared credit card for the first time in weeks. There was a $175 charge at a boutique hotel downtown. Timestamp, 3:12 p.m. So I did what I'd never done before in our 5-year marriage. I drove to that hotel. My heart was pounding the whole way, and my brain was already trying to come up with innocent explanations. Maybe she got a room for a language workshop. Maybe it's group stuff, like she said. Maybe they needed a quiet place to practice, and she's just being dramatic about the immersion thing. I parked, sat in the car for 10 minutes, convincing myself not to go in. Then I did. What I saw in the lobby froze my blood. There she was, standing by the elevator with some tall guy wearing a tight black shirt and cargo pants. They were laughing. Her hand was on his chest. He leaned down and said something in her ear. She giggled. Then they kissed. Not a quick peck. I'm talking a slow, lazy, intimate kiss, the kind she hadn't given me in months. I stood there like a ghost. She didn't even see me, but the front desk did. One of the clerks looked uncomfortable. The other one actually whispered, "Sir, are you okay?" And in that moment, I realized I wasn't. I wasn't okay at all. I don't remember how I got back to the car. I know I didn't confront her. I wish I had the balls to cause a scene, shout something like, "How's that for pronunciation practice, huh?" But I didn't. I walked out like a damn ghost, heart thudding so loud it felt like a drum in my ears. I sat in my car for a full hour, just staring at the steering wheel, thinking maybe I hallucinated it. Maybe it was a dream. Or maybe I could still find some explanation that made sense. But no, there was no universe where that was just a language exchange. Eventually, I drove home, left the pizza in the car, and just sat on the couch staring at the wall. My brain was in overdrive, replaying everything. Every weird excuse. Every late night. Every group meetup she told me not to come to. And then came the anger. I wasn't just betrayed, I was mocked. She played me like a fool, wrapped it in academic jargon, and sold it as self-improvement. I gave her everything. My time, my patience, my support. I was literally helping her practice English while she was probably using those same phrases in bed with this James guy. She came home around midnight, like she said, waltzed through the door, all casual, kissed my cheek, said, "You're still up? I thought you had an early morning." I looked her dead in the eye. "Where were you?" She blinked. "I told you, English immersion night. We were doing structured drills, focused on intonation and fluid transitions." I swear to God, she said it like she was reading from a damn textbook. So I asked, was James part of the drills? Her eyes twitched, just for a second, but I saw it. Then she smiled. "You're being jealous again. I told you, James is just a guy from the group. He helps facilitate some of the sessions." So I said it. "I saw you. At the hotel." Dead silence. You'd think she'd freak out, cry, apologize, deny something. But no, she actually shrugged, then said, "Okay, I guess we're doing this now." And that was the moment something in me cracked. That shrug. God, I'll never forget it. It wasn't even defensive, it was bored. Like I'd just interrupted her while she was trying to put on mascara. So I asked, "How long has this been going on?" She sat down on the armrest of the couch like we were about to discuss groceries. "With James? About 3 months, give or take." Just like that. No emotion. No shame. No nothing. I could feel my pulse in my skull. "So while I was helping you with grammar and idioms, you were what? Going to hotels with him? Having some twisted pronunciation lesson in bed?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, can you not be dramatic?" It wasn't like that. At first, it was just conversation. He was helping me with confidence. Then things happened naturally. You were distant. I didn't plan for it. I was distant. That was her angle. I was the one working full-time, paying all the bills, folding her stupid little flashcards every morning because she said it helped her retain phrases. And I was distant. I snapped. "You lied to me for months, and now you want to put this on me?" She crossed her arms. "Well, you did stop being affectionate. You used to compliment me. You used to ask about my day. Lately, you've just been checking up on me. Like a dad. Or a parole officer." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was turning her affair into a communication issue. "So cheating was your way of asking for attention?" I shot back. She scoffed. "You're making this toxic. I'm not having this conversation if you're just going to yell." And with that, she stood up, walked into the bedroom, and slammed the door. Just like that. No apology. No begging. No remorse. As if I caught her texting an ex or forgetting to take out the trash, not carrying on a months-long affair. I sat there in silence, staring at the hallway, my fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. And the scariest part? I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt clarity. Because this woman wasn't who I thought she was. Not even close. I didn't sleep that night. She did. Like a baby, apparently. I could hear her snoring softly through the door while I sat in the living room, trying to keep my hands from shaking. I thought about everything. Every red flag I ignored. Every moment I doubted myself because she made me feel crazy. Every smug little smile she gave when I questioned something, and she shut me down with psychobabble like, "You're projecting," or "That's your insecurity talking." I realized I'd been slowly gaslit for over a year. And the English training? That was just the latest front in a long string of manipulations. It started small, her needing space to grow, which meant going out more without me. Then it was the emotional boundaries she said we had to respect, which meant I wasn't allowed to ask who she was texting. Then came the language stuff. She weaponized her self-improvement journey to create a world I wasn't allowed into. And here's the kicker. When I checked her laptop the next morning, which she stupidly left open, I discovered she wasn't just seeing James. She was also active on 2 language exchange apps, HelloTalk and Tandem, and had dozens of flirty messages with men from different countries. Stuff like, "You're the only one who really helps me feel the language. I wish all Americans were as kind and patient as you winking-faced. Voice note me again, I love your accent." I don't know how many she met in person. I don't know if it was just James she crossed that line with physically. Honestly, at that point, it didn't even matter. What mattered was this. She wasn't learning English. She was auditioning for a new life. One where she could keep upgrading, keep flirting, keep playing the role of the charming foreign woman who just needs a strong man to help her learn the ropes. Only now, I wasn't that man anymore. And the moment that hit me, I closed her laptop, walked into the bedroom, and looked at her sleeping. And I felt nothing. No love. No rage. Just this empty, quiet disappointment. Like I'd been cheering for a team I didn't realize had switched jerseys halfway through the game. I didn't wake her. Didn't throw her stuff out the window. Didn't scream or cry. I just walked out of the room, went to the kitchen, and made coffee like a robot. My body was moving, but my mind was somewhere else, like it was observing everything from outside, detached. It hit me while stirring in the creamer. I didn't want to fix this. I didn't want to win her back. I wanted out. By the time she finally woke up and walked into the kitchen, wearing my t-shirt, mind you, I was already halfway through researching divorce lawyers. She sat down across from me, rubbing her eyes, and mumbled, "You gonna be weird all day, or are we gonna talk like adults?" I set my mug down, calmly, almost too calmly. "No, we're not going to talk. I don't want to talk anymore. I want a divorce." Boom. Just like that. I watched her freeze mid-sip, the mug hovering in front of her lips. She blinked like she didn't hear me. "Wait, what?" "I'm done. I'm not going to be your fallback plan while you screw your way through the phonetic alphabet." Her jaw dropped. I think she expected another emotional meltdown. Another teary monologue about how betrayed I felt. But I didn't give her that. Instead, I stood up, walked to the drawer, and dropped a manila folder on the table. Inside were screenshots, WhatsApp messages, hotel receipts, her little flirty voice memos from the language apps. I had everything. I'm not a tech genius or anything, but let's just say she wasn't exactly subtle. "You said you wanted to feel confident. Well, congrats. I hope you feel very confident explaining this to your family, your friends, and our mutuals when they ask why I left you." She stared at the folder like it was radioactive. Her first words? "You went through my stuff?" That's so controlling. That's when I knew she was gone. Not physically, mentally, morally, emotionally. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even embarrassed. She was just pissed she got caught. And right then and there, the switch flipped. I was no longer the confused, wounded husband begging for answers. I was the man walking away from a burning building, knowing damn well I didn't start the fire. So yeah, that was the turning point. The moment I stopped seeing her as my wife and started seeing her for what she really was, a manipulative opportunist wrapped in a silk accent and good intentions. She followed me around the apartment for a bit after that, like some weird ghost trying to haunt a place it no longer owned. "You're just going to throw away 5 years over a few mistakes? You never really got me. James listens. You just observe me like I'm a project. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, and you'll see that when it's too late." She went from guilt-tripping to gaslighting to groveling in a span of 10 minutes. Impressive range, honestly. If she ever gives up on language immersion, she's got a solid shot at acting. I didn't yell. I didn't engage. I just said, "You have 3 days to move out. I'll be staying at a hotel. I've already contacted a lawyer." She laughed, one of those short, dry, "you're bluffing" kinds of laughs. "You wouldn't dare. You're too soft. You think you're cold right now, but you'll come crawling back. You always do." Spoiler alert, I didn't. I packed a bag, grabbed my laptop, and walked out that evening. It wasn't easy. Trust me. I looked around the apartment before I left. The couch we bought together, the bookshelf full of her grammar books, the ridiculous mug that said, "I before E except after C," that I got her as a joke. All of it felt like props in some fake-ass sitcom I didn't even realize I was starring in. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I just left. Checked into a Holiday Inn 5 miles away, ordered some trashy takeout, and stared at the ceiling in the dark, wondering how many other Jameses there had been. How many other nights I thought she was rehearsing vowel sounds when she was really rehearsing lies. I still hadn't told my family, or my friends, or anyone. Because how the hell do you say, "Hey, remember my wife? The one you all loved?" Yeah, she turned practicing English into a gateway for cheating with dudes named James who probably say bro unironically. You don't. You just sit in a hotel room with garlic knots you can't finish and silence louder than bombs. The next morning, I woke up to 14 missed calls and 11 unread texts. All from her. Some were classic guilt bait. I made a mistake. I'm human. You're not perfect either. Some were emotional manipulation. You're abandoning me. You know how lost I am without you. And a few? Straight up delusional. Can we just pretend none of this happened and reset? Reset. Like this was a damn modem. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my lawyer. Set up a meeting. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never even thought about divorce before, but I was done being the guy who forgave for the sake of peace while getting played like a fool in the background. By day 2, her tone changed. Now she was pissed. You're really going to blow this up like some petty child? You're embarrassing yourself. I've talked to my friends, and they agree this is an overreaction. All men have egos, but this is just pathetic. Let me pause right there. This woman cheated, lied, used language practice as a disguise for sneaking around. And now I was the one overreacting? This is textbook manipulation, by the way. She tried every trick in the book. Deflection, denial, blame shifting, guilt, and finally, threats. And then she hit me with the real kicker. If you divorce me, I'll tell everyone you were emotionally abusive and controlling. You spied on me. You'll look crazy. That one actually made me laugh out loud. Because she really thought I'd fold. Like always. She didn't realize she'd finally hit the limit. Not just mine, but the one she built herself. Brick by brick, lie by lie, excuse by excuse. So I took screenshots of everything she sent me, just in case she wanted to play games later. Then I sent one text. Just one. 3 days. That's what you've got. After that, my lawyer handles everything. Her reply? A single thumbs up emoji. That was the last message I got from her that day. No apology. No confession. No attempt to own any of it. Just a passive-aggressive emoji from a woman who realized the game was over and she'd lost control of the board. She moved out on day 3. No ceremony. No apology. No eye contact. She just texted me. I'll be gone by 4. Don't come back until after. And that was it. When I returned that night, the place was quiet in a way I hadn't felt in years. Her bookshelf was empty. Her endless sticky notes, those ones she stuck on the fridge with word-of-the-day garbage like mellifluous or perpendicular, were all gone. Her hairbrush, her perfume, her chaos. It was just me. I thought I'd feel relief. And in a way, I did. But mostly, I felt hollow. I sat on the floor of the bedroom, not even the bed, just the floor, and stared at the dent in the carpet where her makeup chair used to be. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough to go numb. Long enough to feel stupid for still caring. Because that's the part no one talks about. When you leave someone toxic, there's this romantic idea that you'll feel free and empowered. But the truth is, even a bad routine is still a routine. And cutting it out feels like amputation. I kept remembering these random, useless things. Like the way she used to whisper English words to herself in the shower. The way she always laughed at the word moist. The way she used to say Valentine's instead of Valentines and get embarrassed about it. Stupid stuff. I wasn't mourning her. I was mourning the version of her I thought was real. That woman, the one I supported, believed in, loved, never actually existed. She was a projection, a well-rehearsed role. She wanted to become something in this country, and I was her first stepping stone. Once she learned the right accent, the right idioms, the right smile, she graduated. I was the training wheels, and now I was off the bike. The days that followed felt like I was detoxing from a drug I didn't know I was addicted to. Everything reminded me of her, but not in a romantic way. More like PTSD. The couch still had that little sag in the middle where she always curled up with her study blanket. The one with the grammar tips printed on it. Yeah, she bought a grammar blanket. I'm not kidding. The fridge still had that one weird mustard she loved and I always hated. And the closet? Still smelled like her shampoo. Floral and fake. Like everything else. I started bagging stuff. Her leftovers. Her makeup in the bathroom drawer. Her books. I boxed it all up like it was radioactive and dropped it off at a friend's place who agreed to be the neutral third party. She didn't say thank you, didn't even acknowledge it. Instead, she updated her Instagram bio to Sparkles building myself again. Trust is earned. Mistakes are growth. Dizzy hashtag healing hashtag language learner hashtag independent woman. Yeah, because I was the oppressor now. I was the villain in her little healing arc. The evil ex-husband who couldn't handle a woman evolving. Meanwhile, she'd been getting pronunciation lessons with her tongue down someone else's throat. Unbelievable. I blocked her. On everything. Socials, phone, email. Hell, I even blocked her on Duolingo out of spite. Yes, she was on there. Of course she was. That same week, I started hearing from friends. Hey man, I don't know what's going on, but she's been saying some weird stuff. She told Sarah you were controlling and wouldn't let her grow. Bro, she posted a reel about surviving toxic love, and your couch is in the background. It became clear she wasn't just moving on. She was rewriting the story. In her version, I was the obstacle, the prison guard, the reason she had to find comfort elsewhere. Never mind that I paid the rent, helped her study, made flashcards, drove her to speaking meetups. Never mind that I sacrificed so much of myself so she could find her voice. But whatever, let her have the narrative. Because I had the truth, and I was done explaining it to people who didn't ask. At some point, I realized I had to start living for me again. I joined a local language exchange group, not to practice, but just to get out and talk to people. Funny how I'd been supporting her journey to speak English better, while my own social life shriveled up like a raisin. I even started journaling, something I never did before, pouring out all the frustration, anger, and confusion onto paper. It helped, surprisingly. One night, I was at a meetup when someone struck up a conversation. A woman, actually. Not my type at all, but someone who listened. She didn't try to fix me or give unsolicited advice. Just listened. It felt good to be heard without judgment. To talk about my mess without it being a performance for sympathy or a bait for pity. That's when it clicked. I didn't lose just a wife that day. I lost the version of myself that needed her approval to feel worthy. I was rebuilding, too. Not to prove her wrong, not to get back at her, but because I deserved better. I started setting boundaries, even with friends and family. People who sided with her without hearing me out had to be reevaluated. Toxicity breeds toxicity, and I wasn't going to be their punching bag anymore. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, walking away from everything familiar and questioning what normal even meant. But the peace I found, worth every sleepless night. The hardest part? Learning to trust myself again. After everything, I kept doubting my own judgment. Like, was I really that clueless? Did I miss all the warning signs? Was I the asshole in this story after all? Those thoughts sneaked in when I was alone, especially at night. But then I remembered the little moments. The lies she told about where she was, the strange messages on her phone, the way she'd suddenly be too tired to talk or suddenly had to practice pronunciation at weird hours. I realized those were my instincts speaking, not paranoia. I learned that betrayal doesn't always look like a huge, dramatic event. Sometimes it's subtle, wrapped in excuses and sweet talk. And sometimes, the person you love the most turns out to be the one who breaks you the worst. I started therapy. I thought it was going to be embarrassing or weak, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've made. Talking to someone who isn't emotionally involved helped me unpack all the layers of hurt, guilt, and confusion. It helped me see that what happened wasn't my fault. And slowly, I started trusting myself to make better decisions for me. So here's where it gets weird. About 2 months after she moved out, I got a random text from her. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. It said, "Hey, I've been thinking. Maybe I was wrong. Can we talk?" For a second, I almost felt that old pull, the hope that maybe she'd finally come clean, apologize, and we could figure out what went wrong. But then I remembered the last 5 years. The lies. The cheating disguised as language practice. The way she painted me as the villain. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent one final message. "I hope you find what you're looking for," and blocked the number. Because sometimes, closure isn't a conversation. It's knowing when to stop giving someone the chance to hurt you again. That night, I didn't cry, didn't feel angry. I just felt free. Free from the drama, the lies, the pretending. Free to finally start living my own story, without her rewriting the script. Now, looking back, what did I really learn from all this? First, trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it just because you want to believe in the good version of someone. People can be really good at hiding their true selves, especially when they're skilled at manipulating. Second, love is not supposed to feel like a constant test or a trap. If you're bending over backwards to help someone and they keep breaking your trust, maybe it's time to rethink the whole thing. Third, communication isn't just about speaking the same language. It's about honesty, respect, and accountability. If those aren't there, the words don't matter. And finally, your self-worth is not defined by someone else's version of you. It's hard as hell to remember that when you're in the middle of it, but it's crucial. If you're in a similar situation, I'd say, don't be afraid to walk away, even if it hurts. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing to do. And don't let anyone tell you your pain isn't valid just because you should have seen it coming. You're not alone, and you deserve better. So yeah, that's my story. The Train Your Mouth to Speak English marriage that turned into a masterclass in betrayal and lies. I never expected my wife to turn out to be such a bitch, but here we are. If anything, this whole experience taught me how important it is to listen to yourself, to set boundaries, and to never settle for someone who doesn't respect you, no matter how sweet their accent sounds. Thanks for reading, and if you've been through anything similar, feel free to share. Sometimes just knowing someone else gets it is the best medicine. Stay strong out there. A guy who finally learned to speak his own language again.